Come now to Unit 13, and really Units 13 and 14 go together. It will be a continuation as you'll be translating through chapter 31 in the book of Jeremiah. But setting up chapter 31, it comes in the backdrop, of course, we just previously talked about Jeremiah's letter to the exile in Babylon, and telling them to live life in a normal fashion, because it's going to be 70 years before there's a restoration of people back to the homeland in the land of Judah. So that's chapter 29. There is a future hope, but it's going to be a bit distant out there in the future. Then we come to chapter 30, and chapters 30 through 33 are often referred to as the Book of Consolation, another message of hope, and it really is an extension of the hope that is described variously in portions previous to this in the book of Jeremiah. And it begins in chapter 30 with a message of hope that the days are coming when I will restore the fortunes, often translated, of my people Israel and Judah. The Lord says, I will bring them back to the land that I gave to their forefathers, and they shall possess it. So there is a message that he begins here of a hope of restoration in the backdrop of the desolation of Jerusalem, and in the backdrop of chapter 29. So again, this looks back after the destruction. God will literally, it's often translated restore the fortunes. He'll literally restore the captivity, would be a literal reading of the text. But it's a concept. The return means a reversal of the captivity in the bringing of the people back to the land. And so, again, that they will serve the Lord, and David their king, whom I will raise up for them. So he talks about, again, out of this backdrop of messianic hope, an ultimate future Davidic king. But then he turns back in that chapter, reminds them of their history of unfaithfulness and judgments. But he says again then about restoring the land in verse 18 of chapter 30. I will restore again, reverse the captivity of the tents of Jacob. I will have compassion on his dwelling places. The city will be rebuilt upon its ruins, and the palace will stand in its rightful place. And then, of course, furthermore, he declares that he will bring judgment upon those whom God has used to bring judgment on Israel. So then we turn to chapter 31 with the continuation of this hope, with a focus in the first part in verses 1 through 22 of turning their mourning, their sorrow, to one of joy. So the people who have survived, it says the sword found grace in the wilderness. Israel, when it went to find its rest, the Lord appeared to him. I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have drawn you with loving kindness. I will build you, and you will be rebuilt, O virgin Israel. So it looks forward to this message of future hope for the nation of Israel in the backdrop of this lengthy period of destruction. The chapter ends with a lamentation, a famous passage about the voice that's heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Again, famous passage quoted in the New Testament. But the destiny of the people of Israel, the sons of Jacob, the tribes will be ultimately restored in this era of future hope. And they will plant vineyards in Samaria as well as in Judea in this period of God's ultimate plan of building and planting, in contrast to the judgment terminology, those four terms that he used back in chapter 1 and elsewhere. There's also another interesting aspect of this chapter as we roll into the next portion of Unit 14 in the remainder of chapter 31.